Hello everyone, you're watching the Lowellian. My name is Giancarlos Guzman and I'll be your community host for today. We are joined here today with Jess O'Hearn to talk about Mosaic Lowell. Thank you so much for taking your time to chat with us today. Could you introduce yourself to the viewers at home and tell us more about Mosaic Lowell?
Sure. My name is Jess O'Hearn. I am the director of Mosaic Lowell, and it is an arts, culture, and creative economy plan for all of Lowell.
Oh, that's pretty cool. What prompted the formation of Mosaic Lowell and how did it form?
So starting in about 2018, 2019, there were some community conversations talking about what an incredible arts and culture community that we have here, and that it kind of needed some support. There were folks that kind of operating in silos, and there wasn't a lot of community support, and folks were sort of recognizing it as the main economic driver of the city. So a lot of leaders in the city came together, and they wanted to start working on an arts and culture economy plan. So that was formed. There was funding that came in for it. So from 2020 to 2022, there was a planning process. It developed a 10-year plan, and we are now entering our third year of implementation.
It's pretty cool. What exactly does Mosaic Lowell do, within Lowell?
Sure. So there's a lot of different things that we do. It is a community-led plan. So it really was formed by doing a lot of listening to the creative community, what they need. So we do a lot of different things, everything in support of creatives. So when we say creatives, that's really broad, right? So that is visual artists, performers, dancers, writers, and culture bearers. So folks who plan cultural celebrations and events. Food is culture, right? So this is a really broad way of thinking. So we have found some areas have grown, and we're very responsive to community. So things like professional development for creatives. We run 2 arts markets. Our website is a really great resource, so we're always adding to that so that people are aware of funding opportunities, open calls, and just finding ways for people to connect to each other.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Diving more into that community aspect that you were talking about, could you tell us what organizations and community members make up Mosaic Lowell?
Sure. So I'd say we collaborate with a lot of folks. We have a lot of community partners. Lowell is a very collaborative community. It's a really wonderful community. I feel really fortunate that we have an executive committee. So there's folks who are represented on that committee. They're kind of my sounding board. So we do community listening, but then we have folks that I go to. So that includes representation from the Lowell National Park, the city's Cultural Affairs Office, the Lowell Plan, Lowell Public Schools, some local businesses, local artists. I think I might be covering everybody.
Yeah.
But it's just to get the big picture that there's so many folks who contribute to this. It's not just like folks in the arts and culture sector, but everybody has a stake in arts and culture and cares about it. So we have a great group that I go to.
Could you tell us, what are some of the strategies that, Mosaic Lowell uses to promote the arts and support the arts community within Lowell?
Sure. I feel like I could give almost like an example of a strategy. So we were very lucky. We got to sort of work with LTC. We started by collaborating with DIY Lowell on an event organizers resource group. So this was a great group that started meeting, and we're hoping to meet back up again this fall. People who organize festivals and events. So getting everybody in the same room, talking about their shared challenges when it comes to organizing events, and starting to kind of talk about how do we develop solutions to these challenges. And what's really cool is coming out of that. So by listening to folks, always going back to the community and always listening to them, we're able to develop either programs or resources that then will help support what they're doing. So what came out of that was the development of, because volunteer recruitment is a big one. How do you get people to volunteer and support your event? So there's a volunteer group through DIY Lowell that now is like specifically designated for festivals and events. And then we also just held, in collaboration with the Cultural Affairs Office with the city, on Saturday we just had our first volunteer fair. So it was 20 organizations that signed up, and then we encouraged people to come and meet those organizations, talk to them about different ways that they could connect and volunteer. So it was really nice to see these things really come out of those community organizations. And that, I would say, that's a strategy that we try and go back to.
Sounds very like community driven. Yeah. You've already mentioned this before, how like, you also incorporate like individual artists. Could you go into more detail about that? Like give a few examples for, the people at home?
Sure, like how I think we end up talking to a lot of individual artists through some programming that we do, and also I sometimes say I'm like the survey queen. I send out a lot of surveys. But one of the programs that we have is the arts markets. So that is an opportunity for us to connect with a lot of individual artists and get their feedback on their experience as vendors, what their needs are. So even when we're planning an event or program, we're soliciting that feedback in the planning process to make sure that like it's really benefiting them. So I think we do that, and we also do that through our mini grant program. So we're always asking for feedback from folks who are in receipt of that funding, and even getting feedback from the jurors who are part of that process. So everybody who's part of each one of those processes, we're trying to go back to them and say, how can we make this smoother? How can we make this more successful?
Oh, it's pretty neat. Yeah. I did see online that your website, they offer opportunities for professional development. What does that look like exactly?
Sure. So professional development can be pretty broad, but we really saw this as a need grow. So we started to offer some one-off workshops. So something on, last year we had some grant writing workshops, and that was when our mini grant program started, and then also in collaboration with the Lowell Cultural Council, because when their program opened up, because that's a yearly thing. And then we went from there. We had taxes for creatives, because there are some really specific needs for creative folks when it comes to doing their taxes. And so these were really successful. And then each time we have one of those, we put those resources on our website. So we've developed this resource library that now is pretty comprehensive. So anytime we offer professional development, there are free resources, templates, anything you need on there. So that kind of led to a couple things. Right now we're collaborating with a group called Assets for Artists. They are out of Western Mass, and they specialize in professional development for creatives. So we are working with them and have a 10-person cohort of Lowell-based creatives right now. So they're in part of a 6-month process of taking workshops, one-on-one coaching. And so that's really nice to see that group. And then these opportunities for them to like really get to know each other and grow their own network. And now we're working with the Greater Lowell Community Foundation on developing like a year-long schedule of professional development. So that will include, like evening virtual workshops, some in person. And we put out, there are some things that we identified. We were like, oh, we definitely see this as a need based on our conversations. And then we also put out an open call, which is still open for folks. It's just rolling, and people can apply if they have, like, there's something they want to see offered, or if they have something they want to share, if that's their personal practice and what they've learned, and they can propose a workshop that maybe we could run.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah. Sounds like, Mosaic Lowell is like, not only like super community driven, but it also like, helps to provide opportunities to not only individuals, but to like bigger events, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of these events, like you like to highlight community events. Would you mind telling us about any events that are coming up within like the next 2 months?
Oh goodness, events. What is coming up? Well, I guess we're not, I wouldn't say we're involved in every single one, but I would say go to the Cultural Affairs Office through the city site. They have Monster Bash coming up. There's a busker series. There's also, keep an eye out for Winterfest. That's going to be in February. City of Lights is in November. But there are a lot of other festivals too. So if you go onto the Mosaic website, we have a calendar, like an events calendar, and that is always updated. So there's so many different things to take advantage of here. There are, poetry events. There's spoken word events. There's live music all the time. So we try and list as much as possible, and people can submit those opportunities. So I know I'm not going to capture all those things. I really rely on our staff. Laura Tavares is our administrative person, and she posts all of that. So there's a ton of resources on the website, but I know I won't
Speaking of the website, you've mentioned it a few times. Could you provide us, the name to the link of the website and any other platforms that people at home can reach out and find out more about Mosaic Lowell?
Sure. So our website is mosaiclowell.org. We are also on Instagram as Mosaic Lowell and Facebook. So we are always posting on social media. So anytime there's opportunities, we might do and we also do a really great resource if you follow us on social media on Instagram and Facebook is our weekend roundup. So every Thursday we have a post that just basically lists everything that's going to happen that weekend across every area of specialty. So it's a really great go-to if you're looking for something to do on the weekend in Lowell. If you go on the website, you can sign up for our newsletter. We send that out once a month. Sometimes there's some others, but we won't clog up your inbox. But I'd say following us on social and signing up for the newsletter and just checking the website. So we try and keep that updated. I mean, we're putting new stuff on there all the time. So, yeah.
It's pretty cool. Is there anything else that you like people at home to know about Mosaic Lowell?
I would say for folks, whether you consider yourself a creative or not, get involved with your community. This is a fantastic community to live in. I live here. I love it. But go out, go to these events, meet people, especially if you are a creative, grow your network. Mosaic, I hope, is a tool to help folks do that and make connections, but just being out, going to events, supporting fellow creatives, I think that's a great way to start to grow your network.
Awesome.
So get out there. Yeah.
Well, thanks again for taking your time to chat with us today. Once again, my name is Giancarlos Guzman. This has been Jessica O'Hearn, and you have been watching The Lowellian.